I see more than 40 people in the meeting, so thank you and welcome all of you. So this is an event organized in partnership with the Office of the Provost and the Vice President for Research by the Brain Institute. Ramasubramanian, the Vice President for Research, is going to join us, and also Barnett from who's the Chief Strategy Officer for the Provost will join us. Actually, I see Megan here. If you could wave, thank you so much for coming. Ram is running a bit late unless I missed him. So what we'll do today is to discuss big ideas that can drive neuroscience across the universities. Since these are scientific ideas, we call them hypotheses. And what we'll be doing, the agenda will be in your chat box shortly, and the rules for Zoom meetings, which are not very different from many Zoom meetings you've attended, will be on. You'll be asked to join one of the breakout rooms. You'll have time to discuss in the breakout rooms and go forward. And I see that Ram has managed to join in time. So thank you, Ram. Welcome, Ram, and you can make a few remarks to get us started.
Oh, perfect timing. I just got one breath after I ran from Madison Hall to my office. Thank you. Yes. Well, good morning, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this first of several forums to discuss the area of brain and neuroscience at UVA. This is an idea generation event, as you know, to collectively define topics for panel discussions in the fall, where a group of interdisciplinary faculty amongst us will further define and refine grand challenge questions in the 4 broadly defined thematic areas that you see, such as cognitive neuroscience, neurodegeneration, pain, addiction, competition neuroscience. So the question is, how can you participate? So I thought I may offer a couple of thoughts on that. From my perspective, again, speaking for Liz as well, what we are trying to accomplish is to generate ideas for topics where UVA, we can pursue at UVA, and with the necessary base talent that we have, the infrastructure we have built over the years, and prior results that are already prominent, in some cases preeminent, and make a significant societal impact in this space. What are those grand challenges we're going to solve? That's the topic. The field of brain and neuroscience lends itself to this measure on societal impact extremely well. Arguably, the brain is the most complex organ, as we all know this community. I don't have to say that. And perhaps the least understood, in my opinion. I know that I have followed the engineering grand challenges, and reverse engineering brain is one of the grand challenges in engineering, for example. So how we stay healthy and perceive to be healthy, learn, make decisions, all of those strongly depends on our understanding of our brain, how it functions, what causes degeneration, how neuroplasticity works, how brain relearns when some part of the brain is broken, how does it reroute? I mean, this is incredibly big questions that has significant impact. And in addition, understanding of behavioral aspects, including depression and again, aspects with clinical basis, autism, and how does it impact caregivers? All of these things matter. And from, as Jaideep would say, from molecular to all the way to bedside, that whole scope is just incredible for this space. So with your own work and experiences and sharing them in this forum, I'm confident that we can synthesize them into an inclusive panel discussion and develop these challenge questions, deploy our resources, and help you achieve your goals. So with that in mind, I want to thank Jaideep for the invitation, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you.
I had asked Harry Sontheimer, the chair of neuroscience, who's recently joined UVA and brings sort of an outsider's perspective to this, to kick us off. So Harry will make some brief remarks, and then we'll go off into our break rooms.
Well, thank you, Jaideep. I'm thrilled to be part of the UVA neuroscience community, and very excited that for all of us that we have an opportunity to expand and reshape neuroscience at UVA through this strategic investment opportunity. Let me stress what Aram already stated. Neuroscience lives everywhere. It is so wide, it lives in every department, in every college on grounds, and this provides a unique challenge, but also a unique opportunity. I think it's imperative for us to think about the strategic investment in terms of how can we keep this community tight, how can we keep it together, and how can we make sure that it's not siloed by the administrative units that we live in. There's many departments that have 1, 2, or 5 neuroscientists, yet the rest of the department really isn't aligned with what they do. So how can we create a community that actually lives together as an organ and actually use the strategic investment as to build connective tissue? And as all of you know, that's the one thing that's missing in the brain, connective tissue. But can we bring it in there? Now, I do want to remind you that there's a community that has struggled with that for the last 50 years and have solved this problem, and that's the cancer community. And of course, a shout out to our cancer center getting comprehensive status. But what they've accomplished is really to bring together people that live in departments and colleges, again, across the campus, and work very closely together and identify with the problem that they're studying, and have really provided excellent collaboration. So we can, copy some of those good ideas. Now, I don't think we need structure for that. I think we just need to have cohesive ideas. And so the big challenge that I'm going to throw at all of you, including myself, is when we think about these grand challenges, how can this connect us? Rather than creating further silos and pockets of excellence, let's look at how we can actually connect things together. When we look at a problem like aging, anything from bioinformatics to inflammation and pain and whatnot feed into aging. So make sure that we actually create opportunities and grand ideas that connect us. I'm excited to get to know all of you and participate in the session. So I'll kick it back to Amy to start us in the breakout sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So with any luck right now, we are going to transition to the breakout sessions. So we've got 3 planned sessions for today. So one on brain imaging that Craig Meyer and James Stone will lead. We've got a general neuroscience research session that Jaideep will moderate, and then a session on neuroimmunology that Tajie Harris will lead.
Welcome back, everyone. We had 3 sessions. So one was on imaging, second was on general neuroscience, and one was on neuroimmunology. And so let me start with imaging. Amy, who was the leader for imaging, and can they report back?
Sure thing. Yep, James and Craig.
Perfect. So we'll just give a quick overview of what was discussed, and maybe to just give a little bit more context for the biomedical imaging activities. This is actually our 3rd meeting that has occurred over the last couple of weeks. We've been meeting independently as a community to try and get together ideas around the grand challenge. And we've come up with several different focus areas that are within imaging sciences in general that have included MR-guided focus ultrasound, data sciences, theranostics, cognitive neuroscience, imaging sciences, and general sort of clinical neurological disease considerations as well related to imaging. What we specifically spent this last discussion session on was talking about that have really started to bubble to the surface over the last couple of meetings around MR-guided focus ultrasound and neuroimmunology. And so these are 2 areas that we're pretty strong in here at UVA, but the convergence and the synergy between these areas really could basically identify a whole new area of exploration that UVA could find itself right in the middle of making some of the major advances in here. And so the general idea here is that we've learned a lot about the brain related to neuroimmunology over the last 5 years or so, and we also know that there are a number of different things that we can do for a neuromodulation perspective when it comes to MR-guided focus ultrasound. And so by bringing these areas together, there are a variety of different hypotheses that could be looked at related to modulation of blood-brain barrier, enhancing immune responses, delivering theranostic nanoparticles for treatment of a variety of different diseases. And again, you know, sort of a wide spectrum by sort of combining these areas. We do have a number of different resource needs around being able to get us there. From the faculty recruitment perspective, you know, we'd really need to have an investment in a focused ultrasound physicist that is specific to brain, that can really help us enhance what is the state of the art as it relates to getting focused ultrasound energy across the skull and effectively into the brain. You know, somebody who is a expert in imaging science related to MR sequence acquisition for MR guided focused ultrasound, someone with expertise in theranostic nanoparticle production, and then an expert in MR PET physics and MR PET pulse programming, given the importance of that modality to the area. From an infrastructure perspective, you know, there are a number of different things listed here, but there are some key needs around ensuring that we have access to state-of-the-art MRI research equipment, ensuring that we've got available infrastructure for merging perhaps focused ultrasound inserts for MRI PET, you know, support for new faculty recruitments, and considering investing in new technology areas such as magnetic particle imaging. Obviously, a seed funding program would be very helpful in order to be able to spark ideas that could help to bring together disciplines across grounds. And we feel that there would be a number of different measurable outcomes that would emerge fairly readily from investments, including, you know, major NIH-style funding, publications in high-impact journals, clinical trials that would demonstrate measurable improvements in the ability to be able to treat CNS diseases through these approaches, new FDA-approved therapies, and new intellectual property and new industry partnerships. And then from an overall societal impact perspective, we really feel like an investment in this area could significantly improve our ability to be able to diagnose and treat CNS disease, could improve our ability around understanding brain connectivity. And, you know, sort of the moonshot here would be that we've got a vibrant clinical MR guided focused ultrasound drug and gene delivery program for treating a variety of different diseases. I know that was sort of a mouthful, but I'll stop here.
Finish it in 4. I was going to stop you, but I think we'll do discussion later. Tajie, you were leading neuroimmunology.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Jaideep. Yeah. So this is so really exciting to hear about what people are thinking about on sort of the imaging and the focused ultrasound side, and how that could synergize with neuroimmunology. This is a really wonderful thing that comes out of these grand challenges. So one of the central themes to what we were discussing is that we have a strength in neuroimmunology research at UVA, and that each of the grand challenges that have been identified for us to try to focus on here at UVA all are related to neuroimmunology, in that the immune system shows up in all of these neurological diseases and conditions, including neurodegeneration, neurodevelopment, pain, addiction. And so basically we have existing strengths in this area, and basically we can continue to invest to try to take what we're learning and then actually move things through the pipeline to treat patients. And so thinking about how we could synergize with other groups is just super exciting. But some of the things that we identified and thought about is that we have faculty across grounds that are involved in neuroimmunology research as it is, and some key areas that can be developed. So we know that we have faculty in chemistry and biomedical engineering that are interested in modeling neuroimmunity, basically whether that would be the interface between the brain and the lymphatics, or the blood-brain barrier, or just tissue on a chip. These are areas that could be developed with existing strengths in faculty in chemistry and BME. But that could really dovetail with all of us that are working on basic science using animal models of these diseases. And of course, we have deep interests in neurodegeneration, but we do lack faculty that are studying diseases like ALS and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease for those people that are focusing directly on how the immune system is leading to pathology or involved in those disease processes. And so basically we have a lot of people across grounds that could be studying the basic size of these things. We also want to start to really translate our discoveries. And so we'd love to have a medicinal chemist that we could work with to start to develop some actual therapies that could be going into clinical trial. And then of course, work with clinicians that are actually treating patients, develop some IRBs, get more samples into our hands so we continue to have a deeper understanding of these disease processes and move these towards treatments. So essentially, we've discussed largely that the investments would be made in faculty hires as well. Each faculty member will likely have a need for equipment, but we don't think there's necessarily one unifying piece of equipment that would move all of us forward together. Each individual investigator, of course, will have their own cutting edge tools that they will need. So we've identified several areas that will just build upon our existing strengths in neuroimmunology at UVA.
Thank you. I know you had very little time, so let me try and summarize the discussion in the general session. The big themes that were discussed were how to bring the faculty together from across grounds. Some of these are reflected in your themes that your groups discussed, which is whether it is imaging or neuroimmunology, people across grounds work on this. There was emphasis on recruiting junior faculty. So many, JC and many others brought up that, that some of the most productive people are junior faculty. So as we think about recruiting faculty, there's always a tension between getting a star hire like JC Kang or Kevin Pelfrey, or getting a junior faculty. It was heartening to note that both of them recommended hiring junior faculty. So as the group also thought quite a bit about promotion and tenure process for junior faculty, because you have to show tenure for your tenure that you've contributed singly when we are asking people to do team science. And at least there are models outside. I know University of Michigan now has a portfolio for doing a team science portfolio completely separate from others. And there are models that Tim Clark brought up as a data scientist that could help with that. Interestingly, we also brought up drug development and having chemists who can target these systems. Jill Wenton, who's the chair of chemistry, noted that chemistry department should be the one getting people who could work both with cancer and neuroscience to make sure that we have enough recruitments. Human neuroscience was recognized as a major area of potential growth, and not only in terms of providing core facilities to do data collection, but more as an idea generating place where people can actually generate ideas, and ideas should go both from animal research to human research and back from questions raised in human research should be tested in the lab, which has been the ideal for NIH forever. It's usually a stated ideal. Very few places in the country realize it, but it is the challenge that was brought up, and the fact that many new recent hires have been around human neuroscience and how we encourage human neuroscience, pure human neuroscience and disease-related neuroscience. Finally, we once again, people emphasize bringing people together around large center grants, and they don't have to be disease-oriented center grants. They can be healthy aging or healthy brain development. And how do you, I mean, I didn't see anybody from education school, but education school struggles. We know every child is unique. It's not that and learns differently. And by understanding how normal brain development occurs, we can even focus on individual development programs. So Please put all your ideas in the idea note. Amy reminds me, and I'll open this up to discussion. We have about 7 minutes for discussion, and then I'll ask Megan to make final comments. So please, this is open for discussion, and please put your ideas in the ideas side.
Jaideep, this is Camilo Fadul. One of the participated in the imaging, but one of the things that we have discussed is about cancer and neuroscience, and that seems to be a big topic that sort of mingles with a lot of the other neuroimmunology and so forth, and that seems to be a strength here. And I don't know, I think that there would be a topic on its own with respect to development and questions of recruiting faculty. And we have a strong neuro-oncology program. We have our cancer center is now a comprehensive cancer center. There is a lot in biomedical engineering working on cancer specifically. So I think that there would be in a whole area on its own.
Yeah, Camilo, and we have neuroimmunology of cancer being studied as well, of brain cancers. Plus, as you know, Harry has strong interest, but other thoughts? So if you don't, then I will start people. So Tajie, what did you think in terms of broader things of bringing together teams and moving them forward? What did you hear that is common across the university? What are the common themes that you're hearing that we should move forward?
Yeah, so some of these could be based around specific diseases. That's absolutely something that could be happening. But I think in general, maybe the two themes that have emerged is sort of investments in specific drug or specific disease areas. Neurodegeneration is absolutely one of them. This is a really hot area for drug development, but then also having the capabilities. So the sort of second side of this is having the capabilities to actually develop drugs. So this would be, as was noted in the general session, that needing a medicinal chemist and the ability to sort of do screens with model systems, that's absolutely something that we'd like to do. So that's sort of where the two things fit: investments in key disease areas and also a pipeline for drug development.
So Richard, you led the imaging session with James. Your thoughts, synthesizing what we're hearing here?
Yeah, well, Craig was actually the co-leader on that. So Craig, do you want to take it if that's where Jaideep's going?
Well, you can go ahead and talk more about this, Rich. And
well, no, I think I played a pretty significant role in putting forth neuroimmunology as a sort of central theme for the imagers and the MR-guided focused ultrasound people. And I was really heartened to see Tajie's group in parallel also discussing neuroimmunology. So it just seems to me like a very, very natural convergence for both the basic scientists and the chemists, as well as the radiologists and the engineers. We all come together in this place, and we're already very prominent in neuroimmunology, but investments in this place can make us preeminent, which I understand is what we're looking for. And neuroimmunology just seems to be the one that pops for me in that regard.
Yeah, I was going to follow up on that, in that we've been working pretty hard in the last 4 or 5 years to develop T regulatory cells. And, you know, I was thinking about how those T regulatory cells would actually play a role in the neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and the others, where, you know, people have just barely scratched the surface in developing the cells that are targeted to, say, amyloid plaques, for example. You know, there's only like one paper out there, so one could actually take advantage of what we have in terms of cells, the biomedical engineers, the neuroimmunologists, basic scientists, and focus on developing that as a new product.
And just to add to Larry's comments, you know, it really is to a certain extent serendipity that we've got two very strong programs around neuroimmunology and MR-guided focused ultrasound and just, this sort of natural extension of a combination of these areas to open up an entire new aperture around the ability to be able to diagnose, modulate, and manage disease. So, so this is, to a certain extent, you could call it low-hanging fruit, but it is, it could be a massive area of progress and growth that would bring together two very strong areas that, frankly, around the country, you really don't have sort of these two areas that are co-located within a given institution in very many areas.
Other thoughts? So,
Jaideep, I hope to add, I think, between computational science and neuroscience, there are a lot of new interdisciplinary research, we should develop and encourage. I think more seed money on that will help. And with the movement of AI and machine learning, and with funding agencies all giving a lot of money on that. And I think I would like to see the university put more investment in such interdisciplinary groups between the AI machine learning and the neuroscience, and to have some interesting research and preliminary result to go out after the big funding in NIH, NSF, and other agencies.
we have a whole session on it.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that. Actually, Amy was asking us, me and Tom, to lead that. I'm glad to do that next, I think it's next Wednesday, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to see that. That's great to see that computational and the data neuroscience. I think it's important.
So final thoughts? Harry, do you want to sum it up? You heard all the discussion.
Yeah, no, I think what was said here makes natural sense, although I would argue that one could frame it bigger than that, because, both neuroimmunology and brain imaging are approaches as opposed to a big, and these approaches could be deployed to the problem of, healthy development or aging, but they're really getting into the mind-body connection, because the immune system has a lot of life outside the brain, and the focused ultrasound permits it access to the brain. It's a way to modulate how the peripheral immune system actually interacts with the brain. So again, these are approaches, but other approaches could be brought to bear on the bigger question. So I think that while I like this a lot, and I see the investment opportunity here, maybe we can actually coalesce this into even a bigger container, if you will.
All right, final thoughts. Otherwise, I'll ask Megan to sum up and tell us where we go from here. All right, Megan. So,
I'm not sure I can sum everything up.
Let me just introduce you. So Megan Barnett is the Chief Strategy Officer for Provost McGill. Megan did her law degree here and then went to work at Yale, and eventually became a strategist for Yale Provost or Yale Dean. And she was responsible, biggest good fortune is she was responsible for the strategic planning for their neuroscience initiative at Yale. So she has experience working on neuroscience, even though she has a law background. So do speak to us from your perspective and what you heard today.
Well, thank you, Jaideep. And you oversold a little bit. I was one of the team that worked on these issues. And I'm excited to work on this here. So on behalf of the Provost Office and the VPR's office, thank you all for participating today. This was a little bit of an experiment in a way to engage the community and to start getting input on this. And this was, I think, exactly the kind of engagement we were hoping for. There were a lot of exciting ideas. And so I hope that you will continue to share your ideas with us on Idea Note and in the future sessions. But I think more importantly, I hope that you will continue to share your ideas with each other. Because I think Harry put it really well in his introductory remarks when he said, an important question is, how can this connect us? And connecting us and building on our strengths here at UVA is really the point of the grand challenges. So I think this was a great first start and to this process, and Ram and I are looking forward to working with you on this as it moves forward. So thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you taking your time on a busy day and working with us. There are 4 more sessions, and we're trying to engage 300 strong neuroscience community at UVA. So we'll continue to work on it. Thank you.